So the latest Diablo IV Developer video has released and it focuses around the end game. Now, the end game includes discussion around Codex of Power, Capstone Dungeons, Paragon, Helltide areas, Whispers of the Dead, Fields of Hatred, and more. So I'm really excited to watch this and dive in and give you my thoughts and opinions, and I really want to hear about yours in the comments below as well. So yeah, let's jump in. Oh, Necromancer. Okay, is this Andariel? I want your opinion. Does this look like Andariel? Because that looks like Diablo 4 setting. We've got like a wizard, at least one barbarian, and a rogue. I feel like that's a druid. I can't see the necromancer, but that definitely looks like Andariel. That looks really,
We're really excited about getting this game into players' hands and letting them experience this massive world.
A main cornerstone of D4 is play your way. As a player continues to advance through the story and into the endgame, they'll unlock a ton of brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter their playstyle.
I find that interesting. Play your way and meaningful progression no matter your playstyle. I feel like that really leans into the perception, the language, it's moving more into an MMORPG light, if you will. So we'll see how that plays out.
Players will be able to keep progressing in the narrative of the game.
So does, like, keep progressing the narrative of the game, does that mean that the game is going to be, like, infinitely filled with main scenario quests or lore? Or, like, I wonder if it just means it's going to have a lot of side quests and, like, tidbits of lore spread throughout the environment or sanctuary itself.
Alongside that, the whole team has worked on crafting a variety of different experiences players can pursue.
We're going to have an entire world of Sanctuary for our players to offer. There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
I mean, I like that notion that there's never going to be an absence of something to do. I imagine that there's going to be a lot of repeatable content. So obviously, there's over 120 dungeons. You could run those at least 5 times each and still not know them all intimately, sort of thing, because of the RNG nature of some of the dungeons. Obviously, there's going to be sort of like dailies, weeklies, PvP, world events, world bosses, probably seasons as well. So I'm kind of excited.
After the player has finished the campaign, there's a lot more game to go and participate in. They gain access to a special, what we call capstone dungeon that they have to complete. Once they're able to finish this capstone dungeon, they're going to gain access to the first world tier.
As you complete the world tier, it will open up the opportunity for you to go into your next.
Okay, so these are the world tiers. And the world tiers we actually got to sample in the early access and open beta. We got to play as adventurer and veteran, but I know that there's also nightmare and torment, which I don't think anyone has seen or experienced. So I'm interested to see what kind of level scaling they provide and offer. Comparing this immediately to Diablo 3 with the torment difficulties, I'm wondering how it will scale like for like. Obviously, torment, we got to get to 16 or higher, I think, whereas there's only 4 levels here. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
World tier. That involves unlocking powerful loot, new items, and more advantages for your player to have a better opportunity at end game.
Whether you're a fan of dungeons, PvP, or just roaming around the world, there's a way to continue your Diablo adventure long after hitting max level.
I'm kind of liking that they're mentioning PvP, that PvP is getting a look in. I definitely do think that was a sort of missing feature, a missing function of Diablo 3. So the fact that it's being talked about, that it's being promoted, planned, marketed, is a good thing.
As your character continues to grow in power, you'll start with the skill tree and expand out into the Paragon system.
A lot of the choices the players make are grounded on skills themselves and the fantasies associated with those skills. The Paragon board is a place where...
Okay, so this looks... Okay. So we've got the Paragon tree here, and as you can see, there's like sort of like a square, kind of like a cube. There's like a connection just here as well. We've got our available points to spend, which looks good, and our stats and our glyphs. Okay, because this is my first time seeing this, so this is interesting. And it looks like there's a fair few... Alright, we'll see what they say.
We're allowed to have a lot more...
Ooh, okay, so this is a rogue cheap shot. You deal 5% increased damage for each nearby enemy that is crowd controlled. Or is that for anyone. Maybe it's unlockable for anyone. So there's like a legendary node that you can work towards, okay? And refunding seems very easy. It's just gold.
Depth, a lot more customization, many more options as
A lot of stat
You can
nodes.
rotate the board, so you can choose a different path if you're like, I want to do more strength-based.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I definitely like the being able to rotate the boards. You can see on each edge, there's like a gateway that you can connect it to.
Things, right? I want these particular boons or glyphs.
More
You can
stats.
chart your path.
So it looks like the normal pathing, so like your just normal sort of black and white or dark tiles are stats. It looks like your orange ones are legendary nodes, and these ones are probably rare nodes or something, because obviously there's fewer of them, different like iconography and colors.
Through it, and they're really a way for you to keep expanding your character and making it uniquely yours.
Similar to the Paragon boards is the
This is something that I really want to get more hands-on with, is the Codex of Power and the aspects. So in the beta, with the aspects, what you would do is you would run a dungeon, and the first time you ran that dungeon, you would be guaranteed to be rewarded with the aspect that was advertised in that dungeon. And aspects are sort of like a legendary feature or a legendary function that you could then sort of craft into your preferred item to really build a very, very custom setup.
Codex of Power. It's an in-game system that holds the aspects related to the character. You are able to complete a dungeon, and they will have a chance to drop an aspect.
A chance to drop an aspect. Okay, so maybe it was changed, because the beta was guaranteed. The first time you ran it, you were guaranteed to get it. So maybe in the release version, the final version, they've changed it to chance to encourage running and rerunning those dungeons.
Aspect that you can pick up.
And what this allows players to do is take items they're finding in the world and make them more powerful, turn them into legendary items.
So I did use this in the beta as well, and it was actually literally that simple. You plug the item in, you plugged in the aspect that you wanted, and then it previews what it's going to change into, and then you just imprint it and it's done. So it was quite simple to do.
It's really special to discover what kind of playstyle really means the most to you.
I'm actually really excited by Nightmare Dungeons. I hope they end up being similar to World of Warcraft Mythic Plus, where they're almost infinitely scalable.
Every part of Sanctuary is fulfilling and satisfying. Dungeons in particular are really close to my heart. Nightmare Dungeons are going to give the players the opportunity to experience a dungeon that they might have already experienced in their past playthroughs. They'll enter the dungeon with a found sigil that alters the playstyle and the intent.
Okay, so the found sigil sounds like it's like a Mythic Plus key, and maybe you activate it or put it in the pedestal or trigger it. It changes the entrance as well, which is cool. So like, you know, you change from a normal to heroic to mythic, the face of the entrance changes.
Intensity of the dungeon.
They're more difficult and they have additional objectives.
I like the idea of additional objectives, right? Because oftentimes when you're running a dungeon or running a Mythic Plus, you don't have additional objectives other than the minion, the percentage that you need to fill the 100%. You just go in and you brrr the bosses to death. So hopefully the additional objectives are maybe there's like enemy targets within the dungeon, or you have to kill a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time and you get a few chances to do it. Maybe you have to like do a mini escort, like mini objectives, mini tasks to do rather than just whirlwind go burr,
And then they also have affixes,
Ooh.
which add a degree of difficulty for you and your group to work through.
Okay, I'm kind of excited by these affixes. Again, World of Warcraft is probably the most direct comparison I have here, but the affixes definitely make dungeons harder, and that's their point, that's their purpose, so I'm kind of excited to see that.
One of my favorite affixes that you can find in Nightmare Dungeons is actually called Hellgate. Occasionally, these portals will open up throughout the area that will just pour out different monsters that aren't native to that region for you to also be dealing with while you're trying to handle everything else inside the dungeon.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I like that. I hope as well that maybe the higher you push, the harder the enemy that comes out of those hellscape, like the Hell Rift portals, And when I say harder, I don't mean like a normal mob that's harder with more health and does more damage. I mean maybe elites come out of it, maybe rares come out of it kind of thing. And there's over 120 dungeons to play through. That's going to be probably one of the first things I do is go and find all of these dungeons, get all of the aspect powers out of all of these dungeons.
There's over 120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo 4, and any one of them can become a nightmare dungeon.
That's so good.
By finding a nightmare sigil and then using it to activate the nightmare version of that dungeon space.
Everything's a little darker, everything's more difficult. It's going to
So I wonder then with the nightmare sigil, if let's say you run the dungeon, you find the nightmare sigil, you activate the nightmare sigil, you go back and run the nightmare dungeon version. I wonder if you need one nightmare sigil per run, or once you've got the nightmare sigil for that particular dungeon, it is infinitely reusable. Like it doesn't consume the nightmare sigil itself when you activate to become a nightmare dungeon. Yeah.
add a little bit of a twist of flavor on your particular dungeon.
There's some targeted activities in Diablo 4 that suit what you're feeling in the mood for.
The Forces of Hell are starting to have more influence in certain parts of Sanctuary in the vast interconnected overworld of the experience. And as the players are going into Helltide areas, you're going to find even more powerful monsters. And by killing them, they'll be able to gain these special shards they can take to go and use to purchase these big rewards are available at these caches that are found littered throughout Helltide areas.
The sky darkens and the rivers run red, meteors fall from the sky.
I like the concept. I like the notion of the environmental changes as well. So hopefully Helltide areas have harder enemies again, but they will be enhanced. They will be improved with the environmental changes. I really like the sound of that, especially the rivers running red. It's very on theme, I think.
And the monsters get harder. We really want to create new experiences for the players. There's one I really like called Whispers of the Dead, which you get from the Tree of Whispers. The Tree of Whispers is grim and a little gruesome, but it's also something mystically haunting and kind of beautiful.
The tree has a little bit of a grudge against our players, and it would like for them to go serve its needs.
Oh, okay. So we go back there just a second. You've got the progress bar as well.
Against our players, and it would like
There, Whisper Silence the Festering Burrow. So maybe this quest looks like you've got to go and do what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Maybe you've got to go and do 10 of these cellar events, which is cool. Like, I mean, I'd be doing the cellars anyway. Cellars are quick, easy, very, very fast. So that's a good quest to do to get the reward from the Whispering Tree. What is it called? Yeah, the Whispers of the Dead from the Tree Whispers.
for them to go serve its needs. So you're going to go serve these bounties, gather different rewards, different items, and bring them back to the tree in hopes that it can exchange you something really meaningful.
Maybe you're going to go to the Fractured Peaks and take out some
you can
werewolves
choose.
that are rampaging in a town. They're contained activities that you can do alone or in a group. We really wanted to create variety for people to be able to spend time where they wanted to in the world. It's very cool the way it's been put together, and I can't wait for people to see it, to be honest.
In Diablo IV, we have a focus on the world of Sanctuary. And there are parts of that world that we call the Fields of Hatred, where Lilith's presence in Sanctuary has begun to seep through and manifest these poisonous areas throughout the world. When players go to these regions, they get to engage in player versus player combat.
Oh, okay. So the Fields of Hatred are the PvP areas. Okay, that's good to know. I like that they've got a dedicated piece for PvP. It's not something that I will be dabbling in myself. But yeah, I'm glad that it's being spoken about, that it's being featured, that it has been considered and implemented.
Conflict.
These offer opportunities for the player to collect shards. But there is a little bit of a catch. In order to get these shards back to town, you will need to purify them. Other players will definitely know that you're attempting to purify your shards.
So that seems very risk versus reward, which I like.
So you better be prepared to fight if you're going to be playing any PvP, and be prepared that you might lose some stuff in the meantime.
Once they get the purified shards, they can take these, go back to nearby towns to sell them, and then use that to buy a whole bunch of interesting cosmetic items and rewards.
It's a place for
So that seems to be like another method for farming currency to go to a Kadala-esque vendor to gamble.
people who really love PvP and want to still get loot and still increase their character's power. If that's the way they want to play, they can.
I definitely like that. I definitely like that they're trying to make PvP a viable way for gamers to play Diablo 4 and progress through the endgame systems, same as in World of Warcraft. I think it's good.
Launch is just the beginning. One of the things we're really focused on is creating a living, breathing set of updates for players to engage with after the game has gone live.
It's really just going to be a way to keep coming back and experiencing more Diablo 4 in fresh ways.
We're really eager to hear all of your experiences and just enjoy the entire story with you all.
So when they say launch is just the beginning, we all know that they did originally want to implement the runes on launch, but that's been delayed. They will be coming in later. It probably stands to reason that they'll also have seasons again to obviously keep the game fresh and replayable like that as well. And that just looks really, really cool. That's like with the bone rings and the way that the monster is like, oh no, I'm gonna die. So there you have it. That was the Diablo IV developer update around the endgame systems. They did allude that there would be more involved. It sounds similar to Diablo 3 with a lot of the endgame systems, and it seems like it's definitely going to be, like I said at the start, an MMORPG light. It's almost like a crossover between an MMO and an ARPG, with your dailies, your weeklies, very similar to, you know, the bounties from Diablo 3 as well. But yeah, I'm excited. Available 6th of June. I pre-ordered mine, which means I'll be getting mine 2nd of June. But yeah, I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments below. Feel free to leave one, and thanks for watching.